The NFL draft is just a few days away, and the Bengals, well, they have the 28th overall pick. Who would I pick if Duke Tobin called me and said, James, you get to make the selection? I'll reveal my pick next, right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to CBT. I'm James Rapien of allbengals.com. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and buckle up because our draft coverage is just getting started, and you have to hit that subscribe button so you can join the 34,000 plus, thanks to all of you that have already subscribed, that are in tune with the Bengals and getting all of our Bengals updates, whether it was Lyle Collins earlier this week, whether it's Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry, whether it's all of our coverage of the 2023 NFL Draft from Paycor Stadium. Thank you. And with that, let me give you my pick for pick 28, the pick I would make. Not what I think the Bengals will do, but what I would do. And I've gone back and forth about this. Could Dalton Kincaid fall? Because if so, that's the pick I would make. I just don't think he's going to be there, and I want this to be realistic. It would be real easy for me to sit up here and say, well, I'm going to take Bijan Robinson. Well, he's not going to be there, so I'm not going to take Bijan Robinson. So part of the qualifier is if he's there. And so realistically, I don't know exactly who will be on the board. Emmanuel Forbes could be on the board. Bryan Bresee could be on the board, and I know a lot of people like him. Calijah Kancey could be on the board. The guy that I would take, and this won't shock many of you, is Alabama running back Jahmyr Gibbs. I love his game. And I love his game for some teams. He is not a guy that is going to fit everywhere. Well, guess what? Not many guys in this class fit everywhere. Bijan Robinson might be the only guy that fits everywhere, and Jahmyr Gibbs might be a better fit for the Bengals. In fact, if the Bengals pick Jahmyr Gibbs, 28th overall, and I'll come at you really hot, I think he will be Offensive Rookie of the Year. And I don't need to see the destinations for Jackson Smith-Njigba. I don't need to see where Bijan Robinson lands, and I'm well aware that they could land in good offenses with good quarterbacks and get fed the ball a ton. But Jahmyr Gibbs is exactly what Joe Burrow in this Bengals offense needs. Some will call it a luxury pick. Some will say they're getting too cute. Some will say, well, why wouldn't you invest in the trenches? And they will talk about position value, and they will try to say all of these things. And yet the Bengals, the reason they are here, the reason that they made it to Super Bowl 56, the reason that they've been to back-to-back AFC championship games is what? It's Joe Burrow and it's weapons. That doesn't mean the defense hasn't played a big role in things. They've spent a lot of money on defense. That is not what I'm saying. So I wanted to shut that down right away. But why have the Bengals made it to where they've made it? And what is going to get them over the hump in 2023? What is going to help them sustain the success that they've put together? What fits well with a big three of Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase sign to long-term deals, which is what the Bengals plan on doing? Who fits? Jahmyr Gibbs. You're talking about a guy who runs a 4.36 40-yard dash, someone who is just as dynamic as a pass catcher as he is a running back. Let's check the tape here. Let's just ask. Are the Bengals a passing team or are they a running team? This isn't the Tennessee Titans. Not that there's anything wrong with that. This is new age football. The Bengals want to throw it all over the field. I think back to when they were down 3 offensive linemen ahead of the divisional round matchup against the Bills. And I had a side conversation with Joe Burrow, and I don't think he'll be mad at me for saying this now. I don't think I said it before. But I was like, hey, Joe, are you guys going to be able to throw it this week? It's going to get windy up there, and they have that pass rush, and they're deep there, and you're down 3 linemen. He's like, man, we always throw it. That's what we are. And I know that it's taken even time for me to adjust to, but that's what the Bengals are. They're a pass-first team with an elite quarterback, and they are going to live and die with throwing the ball. They throw it. Okay, well, if you're going to throw it and you're going to force teams and defenses to play you too high safety and double Jamar Chase and double T. Higgins with games on the line, like the AFC Championship game in January against the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium, I want a cheat code at the other spot. And that's what Jahmyr Gibbs is. He's a cheat code because he is going to make linebackers look silly. He is fast enough and quick enough to get open. And he's willing to take a check down or able to take a check down from a 4-yard check down and turn that into a huge explosive play. That's what he is. And some will say, all right, he's 5'9", 199 pounds. By the way, 199 pounds is not small for a running back. It isn't huge, but it is not small, one. Two, the Bengals don't need to run the ball between the tackles 30 times a game. They don't do that anyways. 10, 15 times. They want to do the running back by committee thing anyways. Why not have this ultimate passing game back? He's drawn comparisons to Alvin Kamara, Chris Johnson, Jamal Charles, depending on who you ask. From Joe Goodberry, who we've had on this channel, obviously with Bengals on the brain now since the start of the 2022 season, but we've had him on even before that, talking about different prospects last year. So he compared him to Jamal Charles, Chris Johnson. Dane Brugler of The Athletic compared him to Alvin Kamara, Chris Johnson. And by the way, Brugler has him as his 22nd ranked player on his big board, not 38th. This isn't some reach. And that's what people say. Oh, James, you're falling in love with the splashy player. No. There are other running backs I could name, but not like Jahmyr Gibbs. Not this perfect fit. Not a guy that I think is going to put fear in opposing defensive coordinators, and maybe not right away. It might take a few games. Heck, the NFL didn't adjust fully to Jamar Chase for a long time. He was well on his way to winning Offensive Rookie of the Year by the time they adjusted. Can you imagine having the game plan for a guy that's going to catch 8 passes every single week for 85 yards, 90 yards, and they're not doing anything to really scheme it up? It's just Gibbs catching it and running it and outrunning guys. That's literally, if the Bengals did nothing to help him and just put him in the backfield, that's literally what would happen right now. And of course, they would add some plays and some designs and some different things to get him the ball and feature him. This is the ultimate weapon. This is the way to go. Now, if someone falls out of nowhere that I'm not expecting, okay, fine. But given what I'm projecting to potentially be there, Emmanuel Forbes, maybe Calijah Kancey, Bryan Bresee, even if a Deonte Banks was on the board, I would struggle with this. Because as good and as valuable as that is, and I get it, it's valuable, there aren't many backs in this draft. And in fact, I don't know if there are any backs in this draft that are bringing to Cincinnati and fitting as well alongside Joe Burrow as a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs would. I don't think that's the case, including Bijan Robinson. I don't think he's as electric as Gibbs. I'm not saying Robinson doesn't fit everywhere, because he does. Now let's talk about pass protection, because I know some of you are saying, man, he cannot pass block at 199. One, Giovanni Bernard did it. Two, I've been told that plenty of NFL teams think he has the mental capacity to do so. And I asked Zac Taylor about that very thing this week, because I wanted to see, all right, well, what are you looking for? And he basically said, look, it's a mental thing as much as anything. Are you willing to? And mentally, are you able to? And I think that Jahmyr Gibbs, he checks both of those boxes. So to me, and let's just go over the stats real quick to just hammer this point home. Last year, he had 926 yards rushing, over 6 yards an attempt, 7 touchdowns, 44 receptions for 444 yards, over 10 yards per catch, 3 touchdowns. He's dynamic. He's a big play waiting to happen, and he's a perfect fit alongside Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Not just this upcoming year, but for the foreseeable future. He fits the Bengals. He would make them more explosive. He would change their passing game, and he would change the way opposing defenses had to play them. And that is exactly why I'm in on Jahmyr Gibbs at 28 overall. Some might say it's a reach. Some might say I'm crazy for a first-round running back. You could say whatever you want. But if Jahmyr Gibbs is there 28th overall, that's exactly who I would take. Who will the Bengals take at 28? Well, our predictive mock draft is on its way. Yes, on Wednesday, I'll be releasing my predictive mock draft, which is going to tell you who I think the Bengals are going to pick. Round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. See how many picks I get right. We've had a pretty good track record so far, I would say, if you go over the past 10 years or so, and a lot of those aren't necessarily on record. They're probably on record somewhere at some site or something like that. But last year, we were certainly in on Dax Hill, George Karlaftis being back of the round targets, and they picked Dax Hill. We'll see if I can get it right. It'll be those 7 picks plus some other guys that in each round that could make sense for them that they've been connected to, or maybe I've heard something about. So we'll try to do our best to make those picks. But let me know what you think about Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's the ultimate cheat code. You remember those Game Genies back in the day? I'm aging myself. Game Shark for those that are maybe around my age, but Game Genie, that's what this is. Man, this is getting a cheat code for an offense that is going to throw the ball all over the damn place anyways. You might as well have someone like Jahmyr Gibbs underneath, running routes, beating linebackers, and making opponents look silly. For more, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. And for our channel coordinator, Andrew Fox-Miller, I'm James Rapien. Looking forward to watching maybe Jahmyr Gibbs, but whoever put on their draft hat, thecincyhat.com, by the way, but put on their draft hat on Thursday night, and we will have you covered at Paycor Stadium. So I appreciate you watching, and until next time, thank you so much for watching Cincinnati Bengals Talk.